Walters is back for another season as the official bar of the Nats Chat podcast. Walters is the best spot to go before and after home games, located at the southeast corner of Capitol and N Streets, right across the street from the ballpark.
MacKenzie Gore delivers on 3-2, a swing and a miss. Struck him out on a curveball on Gore's 100th pitch of the afternoon. 33 of them come in that bottom of the fifth inning. That's his 9th strikeout of the game.
Here's the set at the belt and the 0-2. Breaking ball, looping line drive, base hit left center field, it's down, and this will bring home 2. The ball past the center fielder Dunn, backed up in left by Lux as Abrams goes sliding into second with a clutch. 2 out, 2-run double. And the Nationals lead it 4-1. 2 huge insurance runs delivered by Abrams. It's now a 10-game hitting streak as Rogers left a slider over the plate and CJ dropped it into left center field for a huge hit.
And welcome to Nats Chat along with MASNsports.com Nationals insider Mark Zuckerman, who was at Great American Ballpark in Cincinnati. I'm Al Galdi, host of the Al Galdi podcast. For just the second time in MLB's 2025 regular season, the Nats have won a road series. Sunday, a 4-1 win at the Cincinnati Reds in a game for which the start was delayed by rain for 22 minutes. But the Nats won 2 out of 3 games in this series to improve to 16-19 overall, 9-7 at home versus 7-12 on the road. You can find us on X at Nats_chat. You can hit us up on Blue Sky at Nats Chat Podcast. You can email the show, natschatpodcast@gmail.com, including if you would like to sponsor the program. Hit up the man who runs the program, Tim Shovers. That email address again, natschatpodcast@gmail.com. Coming up later in the show, a very special treat, MLB Pipeline senior writer Jim Callis with a special 2025 MLB draft report exclusive to this podcast, the Nats Chat Podcast, previewing the options for the Nats, who have the number 1 overall pick in the 2025 MLB draft. And night 1 of the 2025 MLB draft is on July 13th. As for this win for the Nats on Sunday, more good offense by the Nats, a gutsy outing by Nats starting pitcher MacKenzie Gore, and a very good game for the Nats bullpen, which, yes, had a good series. Mark, is this the Andrew Chafin effect? The Nats bullpen being good in this series?
Well, since they made that move, Al, they've won 3 out of 4, even though he wasn't here for the first of those games, but maybe just symbolically motivated by the pending arrival of Andrew Chafin. It helped them out. And that bullpen in those 4 games, of which they've won 3, has a 1.15 ERA. So they are actually performing quite well. I know the road trip started off in just like agonizing fashion with that huge rally in Philly, followed by the letdown of Kyle Finnegan blowing it in the bottom of the 9th. They end up going 3-3 on the trip. And I know you can't do this, but if you eliminate that one bottom of the 9th, they're at 4-2. And we're talking about a really good road trip on the road against 2 teams with winning records that have some postseason aspirations. Now, that's the key right there, is that they didn't close that game out. That's that final hurdle still for them to overcome, to start flipping those kind of 50-50 games in their direction. But I feel pretty encouraged about where this is going. Remember, they opened the year with that awful 1-6 opening week. Since then, they're 15-13, and the schedule has not been all that easy for them. So I think there's a lot to like here, and I think they're close. I think it's just a matter of a couple of these games that could go either way, and it often has come down to the bullpen, them being able to close those out. And I think we're talking about a team that is at least playing 500 ball, if not even better than 500 ball.
Well, if the bullpen is getting better, if the bullpen is progressing to the mean as opposed to regressing to the mean, then that's significant. And that right there could be worth, who knows how many wins as the season progresses. I mean, I think with the offense, look, is it great? Maybe not. Is it much improved? Yes, it is. The starting pitching, is it great? Maybe not. Is it decent, if not good? Yes, it is. I think so. So the bullpen really is the thing. And if the bullpen is getting better, then I think that in a lot of ways alters the conversation. But with the Nats starting pitching in this game, I was so impressed with what we saw from MacKenzie Gore. And the final line does not do him justice, even though it's not like the final line was bad. 1 run in 5 innings, 9 more strikeouts for the current leader in MLB's 2025 regular season in strikeouts. He gave up 4 hits, which were a home run and 3 singles, but he issued 4 walks. The 9 strikeouts, the 4 walks made it so that he over his 5 innings threw a whopping 100 pitches, 61 strikes versus 39 balls. But the conditions in this game were, shall we say, not ideal. Gore at one point was pitching in a steady rain. He, in the bottom of the 5th, during the steady rain, issued 3 walks, including a 2-out walk of Ellie De La Cruz. And Gore, in throwing ball 4, slipped and fell stomach first onto the mound. This was a scary scene. You see that in the moment. You don't know what to think about what just happened.
Gore comes set as the rain continues to fall. He kicks, he delivers. Inside, low in the dirt. Gore fell down on the follow-through. Down on one knee, hopefully okay. And now the home plate umpire, James Hoy, walking out there.
He just slipped. He slipped.
The grounds crew came out, tended to the mound. The game, though, was not paused. For as much rain as we had in this series, we did not have a single in-game delay in terms of rain. Gore then gathered himself and generated a big strikeout, a swinging strikeout of Noelvi Marte for the 3rd out with runners on 1st and 2nd, and the game tied at 1. What a job by Gore to compose himself, recover from the stomach first fall, and generate that strikeout.
We could do an entire episode just on the top of the 5th inning alone because there was so much to it. We haven't even gotten to the home run that was actually a foul ball, which we can get to here in a minute. The conditions that's about as bad as it can be with them still being allowed to continue play. And I was surprised that they continued to play through all that. Although I was also surprised that afterwards, both MacKenzie Gore and Davey Martinez, they felt like, yeah, it was rough. But you get to that point in the game, you don't want to shut it down. I think they both knew he was done for the day. So if they pull the tarp, we're not seeing MacKenzie Gore come back out, no matter how long of a delay or how short of a delay it might have been. So they wanted to get through it, as ugly as it was. That was a gut check inning for him. And, prior to that inning, he's got 63 strikeouts and only 9 walks on the season. That's a 7-to-1 ratio that I looked it up. The only qualifying pitcher in Nationals history who's done that over a full season is Max Scherzer, who did it twice. That's a long way to go, of course, so we'll see if Gore can keep that up. And then, of course, he ends up walking 3 batters in that inning. But I think there's an asterisk to it because the conditions. I mean, he was having trouble gripping the ball. He's spiking a bunch of breaking balls in the dirt. It was ugly. And yet, at the end of all that, he found a way to get through it with another 0 on the scoreboard. And I think that's just another great example of how far this guy has come. We would see in the past things like that could throw him off, and he doesn't even finish the inning. He gives up a couple more runs, and we have a totally different outlook on it. I know he hasn't had a ton of these dominant starts this year. The opening day one, he had another 13 strikeout game. But more and more, I'm impressed with how he's limiting the damage even when things aren't going exactly the way he needs them to. And this was a prime example of that.
As Steven Strasburg said years ago, relentless regardless of circumstance. And when Strasburg said that, I remember thinking about that. I think in a lot of ways he was saying that to himself as much as he was saying that to the rest of us. But I think that is such a great phrase, especially for a starting pitcher. Relentless regardless of circumstance. It's not always going to be that conditions are ideal. What do you do? How do you do when the conditions are not ideal? And MacKenzie Gore, and a circumstance that was like miles from ideal, came through. I just was so impressed by that. And, with the slip and the stomach first fall, it's one thing for a pitcher to get hurt, like his arm goes out, he develops inflammation in a shoulder or an elbow, something like that. I mean, God forbid, right? He ruptures an Achilles in a moment like that. He suffers a severe ankle sprain. He tears a hamstring. I understand it. You don't want in-game delays. None of us want in-game delays, okay? So I can't say that I was sitting here championing for the game to be paused, but you also don't want guys getting hurt. And that was a scary scene to see him fall like that because, again, in the moment, you don't know what just happened.
It felt irresponsible in the moment for them to allow that game to continue, and especially as he goes down. And I can only imagine what the Nats would be saying if he did suffer an injury. Now, he grabbed his right calf, it looked like, after it, but he told us, there was a little moment of like, oh, is everything all right here? Then he figured out that he was fine, obviously pitched through it, so he doesn't think that's anything to be concerned about. But it was not far away from that turning really ugly, and I think we'd be having a very different conversation and very much questioning whether they should have allowed that inning to continue the way they did.
So MacKenzie Gore for this regular season now, 8 starts, ERA of 3.33, whip of 1.15, a strikeouts per 9 innings of 13.3. He is number 1 among all qualified pitchers in the majors in strikeouts per 9 innings, in addition to being number 1 in the majors in just strikeouts, period, 68. The strikeouts to walks ratio now is at 68-13, especially with Mitchell Parker's recent struggles. I think it's clear now the best pitcher for the Nats this season, at least as of this moment, is MacKenzie Gore.
Yeah, and I think we figured it would probably work that way out at some point. No offense to Mitchell Parker, who was great there for 4 weeks or so. But we know the pedigree that Gore has. We know what he can be. And as I said, yes, we would love to see more of those 13 strikeout gems from him. And hopefully there will be more of those. But I'm more impressed with the way he has pitched on these other days and nights when he hasn't been completely in form, but he has found a way to be effective. And again, as you said, it's 1 run allowed in 5 innings with 9 strikeouts. So he's obviously doing something right. This is a big step for him. And I feel like he is growing with each of these starts and really getting good, as you described, as Strasburg would put it, overcoming the circumstances and making sure that he comes out of it doing his job no matter what else is going on around him.
Hey guys, Al Galdi for Window Nation, which has another terrific offer for listeners of the Nats Chat podcast. Now until May 31st, get 60% off and a free entry door with a house of new Window Nation windows. Plus, pay nothing until 2027. Schedule your free estimate at 866-90Nation or visit windownation.com and tell Window Nation that you want the deal that you heard about from Al Galdi on the Nats Chat podcast. Prepare for the summer heat with energy-efficient windows from Window Nation. Window Nation has some of the best energy-efficient windows out there. Window Nation offers a lifetime warranty on all windows, so you can save long into the future. Hurry. The sale ends on May 31st. Do not miss out on your chance to get 60% off and pay nothing until 2027. Schedule your free estimate right now. 866-90Nation or windownation.com. That's 866-90Nation or windownation.com. And tell Window Nation that you want the deal that you heard about from Al Galdi on the Nats Chat podcast.
I'm excited to tell you about the designs Homage has cooked up for the 2025 MLB season. If you're as baseball obsessed as I am, you'll love the full roster of major league looks from Homage. Amazing comfort and deep cut designs that help fans show off passion for their favorite teams. Homage has a massive selection that tells the story of the greatest sport from its very beginnings. Deep logo history, coast-to-coast stadium tours, and the biggest players from every era. Legends never die at Homage. If you need your new shirt for going to a ball game, Homage has you covered with its most comfortable fan clothing, and it's available for fans of all ages. This year's collection hits dinger after dinger after tater after tater. Fleece, tees, bottoms, and more. And don't forget to check out the new starter jacket lineup, an iconic dugout look you don't want to miss. Heroes get remembered, but legends never die, and these looks go long, period. Check out the Homage MLB collection to find your team's coolest gear.
Finnegan trying to give them number 34. Kicks, delivers, and the pitch. Swing and a miss. He struck him out on an elevated up and in fastball. 2 strikeouts for Finnegan to close it out. His 11th save in 13 tries. A win for Jorge Lopez and a Curly W and a series win in the books in Cincinnati as the Nationals take the rubber match of the series and head home with a .500 road trip.
So MacKenzie Gore, very good in this game, and the Nats bullpen in this game, very good. Nats relievers ultimately in this series combined to allow 3 runs, 2 earned in 11 and 2/3 innings. The 6-1 loss at the Reds on Friday night, 4 Nats relievers combined to allow 1 run in 4 innings. The 11-6 win at the Reds on Saturday night, 4 Nats relievers combined to allow 2 runs, 1 earned in 3 2/3 innings. And this 4-1 win at the Reds on Sunday, 3 Nats relievers combined for 4 scoreless innings. Jorge Lopez tossed 2 perfect innings with 2 strikeouts. Jose A. Ferrer tossed a scoreless bottom of the 8th, and Kyle Finnegan tossed a perfect bottom of the 9th with 2 swinging strikeouts for the save. A 0-drama game for the bullpen. And if we could hone in on Jorge Lopez, look, he was struggling like a lot of these guys for a while. That's now 5 consecutive scoreless appearances. He has been really good here lately. He's gotten some big outs for the Nats over the last week or so.
And all 5 of those appearances have been in close games, 2 runs ahead or 2 runs behind, somewhere between those 2 margins. And he goes 2 innings in this one, something I think we've been waiting to see. Who can do that? Can you get 4 innings out of your bullpen without needing 4 relievers? Can you get 3 guys to do that? And he was so efficient in the 6th that it was a piece of cake for him to come back in the 7th. And he gets 6 outs on 19 pitches. You know, as Davey Martinez put it, we talk about hitters who struggle in April. Like Josh Bell is a good example of traditionally does that. It can happen to pitchers as well. It just takes you a while to get into a rhythm and get going. And hopefully that's the case with Lopez. We know the track record, like he hasn't been a bad big league reliever. He maybe hasn't been a dominant reliever for most of his career, but he has had some success. And it feels like him individually and collectively them as a group, things are stabilizing here. You're starting to feel more comfortable when they come into these games. You kind of clearly know what the pattern is, who they're going to use when it's a close game like this. And they're getting the job done more often than not now. And I think that's important. This was a big road trip for the bullpen. I know it started off ugly with the blown save from Finnegan. But ever since then, that group has looked much more stable. And that's even with or without Andrew Chafin. I don't think he's the key to all that. But Lopez, Ferrer, and Finnegan in particular, and then you look at other guys like Rutledge and Henry, it just feels like a more professional, competent bullpen than what we saw for most of the first month of the season.
Well, the Nats offense in this 4-1 win at the Reds on Sunday, good. Not as good as what we saw in the 11-6 win at the Reds on Saturday night, but the Nats on Sunday, 4 runs, 9 hits, and a walk, 3 for 8 with runners in scoring position. The Nats again hit for power. The 9 hits were a home run, 3 doubles, and 5 singles. So the Nats in this game, a run in the top of the 2nd and 3 runs in the top of the 7th. And a big hit in that top of the 7th was a home run by Luis Garcia Jr. He is an starting second baseman and number 6 batter, went 1 for 3 with a solo homer, also had an RBI sac fly, but Garcia in that 3-run 7th, a 1-out full count solo homer to right field for a 2-1 Nats lead despite having been down at 1.12. CJ Abrams, he is the Nats starting shortstop and number 1 batter, 1 for 5, but the 1, a 2-run double to extend his hitting streak to 10 games. Abrams in that Nats 3-run 7th, a 2-out opposite field, 2-run double to the left center field gap on an 0-2 pitch for a 4-1 Nats lead. And I did want to mention James Wood. He is the Nats starting designated hitter for a 2nd consecutive game and number 3 batter, 1 for 4 with a double. He now has an on-base streak of 14 games. So 3 of the guys acquired by the Nats in the Juan Soto, Josh Bell trade, MacKenzie Gore, CJ Abrams, and James Wood standing out. And Luis Garcia Jr., we've talked about him maybe starting to get going here. A big home run, an impressive home run, given the nature of that plate appearance there in that 3-run 7th.
Yeah, let's start with the Garcia homer. And if you watched it, it is on a cutter well inside the strike zone. Not the kind of pitch you normally would expect somebody to be able to hit, first for power, and 2, to keep it in fair territory. And he was so good at keeping his hands inside of it and keeping it down the right field line into the bullpen. And he said he knew the scouting report. He knew that's what this guy likes to do. And so he's looking for that pitch. And so he's ready for the inside pitch, keeps his hands inside of it, and does an excellent job turning on it to hit it down the line into the bullpen. So that's a huge home run for him in a big spot. And it's really good process that also then leads to really good results. He'd been hitting the ball hard most of the series, didn't have a lot to show for it, a lot of drives to the warning track, a couple of sacrifice flies. It was good to see him be rewarded for that process with obviously the go-ahead, ultimately game-winning homer. One other point I want to make while we're on the subject of him, I've gotten this question a couple times here recently. I know I've referred to him often as Louis, and people are asking, what's this about? Did he change his name? No, he is Luis Garcia Jr. He's just kind of within the clubhouse, sort of known as Louis. And so I slip into that sometimes. So no offense to anybody, including Luis Garcia himself, but kind of affectionately, he's Louis, but his official name is Luis.
Well, the change was the adding of the Junior a few years ago, right? He initially was not known as Luis Garcia Jr., but he now goes by the Junior. So there you go.
LinkedIn Jobs is here to help small business owners with that crucial step of making the right hires. LinkedIn makes it easy to post your job for free, share it with your network, and get qualified candidates you can manage all in one place. Here's how it works. Simply post your job, and LinkedIn's new feature can help you write job descriptions and then quickly get your job in front of the right people with deep candidate insights. You can either post your job for free or pay to promote it, and promoted jobs get 3 times more qualified candidates. Find out why more than 2.5 million small businesses use LinkedIn for hiring today. Find your next great hire on LinkedIn. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/natschat. That's linkedin.com/natschat to post your job for free. LinkedIn.com/natschat. Terms and conditions apply.
Here comes the pitch. Swinging a long drive, right field. Nats are in front. That one's way back there and long gone. Beyond the Nationals bullpen in right field, Luis Garcia got into that one. A no-doubter right down the right field line, number 3 on the season. The Nationals 2 and the Reds 1. Garcia absolutely destroyed that cutter from Ashcraft right down the right field line.
Good stuff from the Nats offensively over the final 2 games of this series. You know, Great American Ballpark, we know, can be a hitter's haven, and the Nats were able to capitalize on that over these final 2 games. And now you just hope that the Nats can keep this going. Like I said, they have not been a good road team this season for whatever reason, but have been quite good at home. The Nats have a winning record at home, and next up now is a 6-game homestand, beginning with a 3-game series against the Cleveland Guardians. And if you caught the last installment of this podcast, we wondered what would the Nationals' probable pitchers for that series look like, given the looming return of Michael Soroka from the 15-day injured list, and given at least some uncertainty right now with guys like Mitchell Parker and Trevor Williams, them struggling. So the Nats put out the probables on Sunday. Game 1 against Cleveland, Monday evening at 6:45. Jay Gervin will be the Nats starting pitcher. Game 2, Tuesday evening at 6:45. Brad Lord will be the Nats starting pitcher. Game 3, Wednesday afternoon, 12:05. The Nats starting pitcher is to be announced. We wondered if the Nats might do this. They are. There is a TBA in terms of the probables. Logic would suggest that's Michael Soroka. Is that how you're viewing it?
It certainly is his if he shows that he's ready for it. I think he's going to throw a bullpen session on Monday. That's sort of the final test just to make sure everything is okay. But I believe that they would do that. That lines up for his 5 days. And then there's the question of what you do after that. They have Thursday off, so they could skip Mitchell Parker's turn. They could push him back and have him go Friday. There are options here for how they want to approach this. This much is clear. Brad Lord's obviously getting another start. It's his turn on Tuesday. So Soroka was not going to be ready by then. So you do give the start to Lord. Is he going to take the mound for that game under pressure to perform well? Because you do have to make a roster move to get Soroka back. So if Lord has a rough game, could they option him down? Then that makes the room for Soroka. Potentially, yes, you could do that. I don't think that's necessarily what they want to do. And as we've discussed, there's also an argument to put Lord back in the bullpen if and when that happens. So maybe the corresponding move for Soroka is a bullpen move like Eduardo Salazar, who has struggled pretty mightily, and he could be optioned back down. So they have their options here in a couple different ways. What are they doing with Lord after this start? And then assuming that Soroka is ready to go Wednesday, what are you doing with Mitchell Parker? Are you just putting him right back out there and letting him make another start? Are you going to skip a turn? Are you thinking of bumping him? where is that move ultimately being made? And I think what they're saying here is they're pushing it off for a few days, at least, until they have to decide that. And my guess is that Lord's performance on Tuesday could go a long way towards determining then what happens after that.
Yeah, this sets up to be Brad Lord pitching for his spot on the major league roster for now, or at least pitching for a spot in the major league rotation for now. So there'll be some drama on Tuesday evening in game 2 of this series. So there is some rain in the forecast for this week. So we'll see if the schedule for this series gets disrupted. Mark mentioned potential bullpen moves. The Nats, after their win on Sunday, did announce that Colin Poche, who was recently designated for assignment, has elected for free agency. He cleared outright waivers. The Nats assigned him to AAA Rochester, but because of his tenure in terms of Major League service, he had the option to declare free agency. He did that, so Colin Poche no longer with the Nats organization. All right, so we have this series coming up against the Guardians, and then after that series, we have the Nats with another 3-game series at home. The Nats will face the St. Louis Cardinals, and then comes finally a 4-game series at the Atlanta Braves, followed by a 3-game series at the Baltimore Orioles, and then another series against the Braves, 3 games against the Braves. We know that with the schedule now, you face your National League East teams less. It is odd, though. Like, you look at the schedule and you're like, oh, yeah, the Nats haven't faced the Braves yet this season. You know, you get reminded of that now when you look at, like, what's ahead for the Nats in terms of the upcoming schedule.
Right. I mean, it's been a lot of interleague play, obviously. Cleveland's not a team that we see, or you don't think of them as a team that you see a whole lot of. So that'll be interesting. The return of Lane Thomas, unfortunately, he's on the IL. I don't know if he's traveling with the team or not, but he's not going to be playing, which is too bad because I would love to see him, you know, after that trade last year, which I think we look back on and say that worked out well for the Nats. I mean, Jose Tena has actually turned into somebody who is helping this team. And also it worked out for Lane in so much as he had a great postseason for Cleveland. I know he's off to a rough start this year before he got hurt, but it was really cool to see from afar him get his big moment in the playoffs last year for the Guardians and kind of be appreciated around baseball for the player that he is. But yeah, I mean, that trade has worked out. And we haven't even mentioned Alex Clemmie, the top pitching prospect, who so far has looked very good. He's very young, a long way to go, but that one may work out quite well for the Nationals in the long run.
I think you look back at all the trades the Nats made last year and you feel good about all of them. Not that they made a ton of them, but the ones that they made you like. And I think one of the most telling things about this season is a month from now, 6 weeks from now, are we having the conversation about who is a trade chip or not? Because if we are not, then that is like concrete, tangible improvement from where the Nats have been versus where they hopefully will be. We'll see. But if you're not talking trade deadline prospects, then that means you're not a seller, and that means that you're in contention to at least some extent. All right. Hit us up on X at Nats_chat. You can find us on Blue Sky at Nats Chat Podcast. We have a website you can check out too, natschatpodcast.com. All Nationals radio highlights on Nats Chat are courtesy of 106.7 The Fan. For Mark Zuckerman, I'm Al Galdi. We'll talk to you next time on the Nats Chat Podcast. And we're going to leave you with something that we're very excited to leave you with, and that is a special report from the great Jim Callis, MLB Pipeline senior writer, on options for the Nats with the number 1 overall pick in this summer's 2025 MLB Draft. Enjoy.
With the number 2 pick in the 2023 MLB Draft, the Washington Nationals select Dylan Cruz, an outfielder from LSU.
Nationals have the number 1 overall pick in 2025, and unlike the previous 2 times, there's not an obvious slam dunk top choice like a Steven Strasburger or Bryce Harper. That doesn't mean there aren't talented players available to Washington, however. Number 1 on our list, MLB Pipeline, is Ethan Holliday, Oklahoma high school shortstop. He's a brother of Jackson Holliday, a number 1 overall pick. 3 years ago, the son of Matt Holliday, 7-time All-Star. And physically, he looks a lot more like his dad than Jackson. He's big, he's physical, got a bunch of left-handed power, might be the best lefty power in this draft. And he'd be a guy who could fit for the Nationals in the number 1. So too could Seth Hernandez from Corona High School out in California. He's a right-handed pitcher. He's got a fastball that reaches 100 miles an hour at times. He's got a very advanced changeup. He's got high spin breaking balls, curveball and slider. He's got a lot of polish to him. He's also got some power in his bat as well, although he's not going to be a two-way guy. And he's an interesting consideration at 1-1 because no high school right-hander has ever gone 1-1. I do think if the Nationals believe he is the best prospect, Mike Rizzo and company will take him. Kind of the third candidate right now for me would be Jamie Arnold. Florida State, he's a lefty, plus fastball, plus slider, throws a lot of strikes, higher floor, lower ceiling than either Holiday or Hernandez. Those are your 3 prime candidates right now.
Luzardo's into the wind, the left-hander deals, swinging a long drive, left center field. Chisholm Jr. back to the warning track. He's at the wall, looking up, going, gone, goodbye! Into the brewhouse red seats. A home run for Lane Thomas for the 3rd straight day.
At Arizona State University, we're bringing world-class education from our globally acclaimed faculty to you. Ranked #1 in innovation for 10 consecutive years and #2 among public universities for employability. ASU isn't just ahead of the curve, it's creating new paths to success. Earn your degree from the nation's most innovative university. Online, that's a degree better. Explore more than 300 undergraduate, graduate, and certificate programs at asuonline.asu.edu.